We are live.
I'm recording.
Hello and welcome to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Colin.
And I'm Nathan.
For this first season of Verhoeven Effect, we are going through network television because me and Nathan do not watch network television generally, or at least not for the last 20 years. So we're watching 3 police procedurals through different times to see what everybody finds what do they find that they like about network television. We are watching 2014's NCIS New Orleans. We are watching also 2008's The Mentalist, and also watching 1984's Miami Vice.
Yes.
As always, we start with NCIS New Orleans. We have Season 1, Episode 14, Careful What You Wish For. Original air date, February 10th, 2015, CBS Tuesday. When an NCIS agent is gunned down on a detail that Brody was on, the team discovers that the agent's murder was personal. Showrunner Gary Glasberg, written by Scott Shapiro, directed by James Heyman.
Yeah, this was a movie that starts off with the NCIS acting as Secret Service agents for an admiral. There is, because it's only Brody.
Yeah,
is the other one we know because the other guys aren't doing this, but she's doing this.
Well, there's like another NCIS guy, but he's like from a different state, but he's like coming doing security detail because he's from New Orleans.
Yeah. And it also turns out he's got deep roots in New Orleans with people's very complicated lives.
And the admiral's going to a meeting, and there's a union protest going on.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
Well, the admiral's moving the ships from some yard in Louisiana to some yard in Norfolk or somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's controversial. So the unions are upset about the ship's building being moved there, and they think this admiral was the target of assassination. That an agent Brody is on this detail, and the guy who seems like a nice guy, the 3 minutes you get to know him when they're riding in the SUV.
It's Austin Hackett is his name.
Yeah.
But they go to take they do a security. They walk him in through the front because the admiral wants to like show like he's not afraid. And then Austin gets shot and killed. And so they presume that the admiral was the target and he just accidentally got shot.
Yeah.
And then Brody comes under scrutiny because she's like spots some guy being weird because he just looks weird, and then he's reaching in his pocket. It's like, possible thing. And then when that's not a threat anymore, it's just a phone. That's when the guy gets shot. And so now they say that like Brody was hesitating, and that.
And apparently she has a history of this.
Yeah.
Which when they described the situation that she was aboard a ship once and somebody went nuts with a homemade bomb.
Yeah.
She didn't pull the trigger on him. Yeah, he ran into the control room and killed people or something. And it's like, then they say, she froze then, and she froze again, and this is why she moves around a lot. And they really like throw a lot of weight on Brody for this. In 2 situations, it seemed completely insane. No one's gonna react like perfectly. It's like, we're in a confined metal box, and this guy has a homemade bomb strapped to his chest. Let's start shooting at him. It's like it seemed unreasonable how they were treating her, but it's like I know they're propelling the story.
This is, I would probably say, this is probably their worst episode so far. Probably because they try to do way too much.
Yeah.
Like you have like an A and B story for Brody herself. You have a bunch of misdirects, and nothing is. You spend no time kind of mulling over the evidence. It's just you move from one thing to the next, and it's just kind of a big mess.
Yeah. This was not one of my favorites because it's like people seem to come in and say things and have lines, and then just like run out of the room. Like one of the things I like the least is when Cassius and Brody, or Dwayne and Brody, Pride are talking, and Pride's like, you got to stop running, you got to face this. And it's like, what does she have to face? Like, guy got shot by a high-powered rifle from a rooftop. She could have no way stopped him.
Yeah, and she's arguing to get back on the case, and he's telling her she's being scared of doing an interview.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it was really mixed up. Like it was a heavy shit story. What I mean by heavy shit, I mean like, oh, there's lots of heavy stuff going on. And
yeah,
this is a time for character development, but then it was under like ridiculous circumstances. Like, no, she acted perfectly fine in every situation she was presented with. From my point of view, I mean,
yeah. Yeah, we have Patton and Sebastian have like a conspiracy off because they think Hackett's likely target, but I just from the beginning just put question mark. Like, I don't think the Admiral is even the target, and so it ends up being true. And he's like, I wrote a question mark. One of the biggest gun runners in the city. It's like, how do you know that information? Oh, that guy. He's the biggest gun runner. It's like, how do you know that? It's like he's not even being like put in prison yet for it.
If you know that, he should be arrested.
Yeah. Because the guy they try to put it on some of the dock workers. Because I usually these action shows are run by very conservative people, so I was waiting for like them to blame the union for it.
Yeah, I was figuring it's like the big labor flexing its muscle again and killing government agents.
But also these shows are made by a union, so.
But one of the good ones.
But you have Hackett, the guy who got murdered. The Moke is the gun runner. And he put him in prison, and so they are speculating that he shot him for personal reasons. But then he finds out that no, he got like an illegal gun from the guy to give to this woman that they think they have a relationship.
It's like he had dealings with him, yes, but to do what he does, it's like I need a gun that's not registered to anything.
So she can protect herself from they originally think it's the husband, then then they find her dead body at a hotel, and then obviously the husband did it, and then they're doing the autopsy, and the husband shows up at the autopsy room. It's like, what the fuck is going on? With the kid? Just did the kid see his dead mom? Yeah.
Say goodbye to mommy. It's like, what kind of weird guy is this?
And at the end, the kid's playing video games with LaSalle, and I'm like, does the kid know his mom's dead?
That sucks. How about some Mario Kart? Just cleanse the palate with a little Mario Kart or something, or whatever they're playing. I don't know.
Yeah, it ends up being this thing where it's like all these people from high school are connected, and this guy who's supposed to be a promising politician who he says he's running for governor, but they call him a senator. It's like, is a governor a more prized position than a senator? I know sometimes...
State senator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
I don't know if this Louisiana has a unicameral. But I think it's a state senator.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I know sometimes a governorship is more of a leapfrog to the presidency than if you're a senator in Congress sometimes, but
yeah, because you don't have a voting record that they can track clearly if you're a governor versus a senator. It's like, oh, you voted to take away your Medicaid or something.
Yeah.
Which is
sometimes you just be a personality and a governor, and you get voted in. I mean, that's like Reagan and Clinton are both that. So.
Let's talk about them on the Verhoeven Effect.
No. So yeah, it ends up being that the guy running for Senate had one of his guys kill the woman because because also it ended up being the kid wasn't the one guy's, but ends up being the other guy's, and the kid is a disease, and the one guy who's running for president he can possibly have the genetics to give him a kidney donation.
That you need. Your genetic parents can do that for you. It was really contrived. It was like, well, yeah, I had an affair and then made this guy's husband this gal's husband into a cuck for 12 years or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, this guy's hateful. I get it, but also seems like a buffoon. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, promising career until now. And then at the end, Brody does the interview, and you find out she had a twin, and because the guy had blue eyes with the suicide vest on the USS Moultrie, that's why she hesitated to shoot him, even though like as soon as he enters the next room, the bomb blows up anyways. Presumably without even him hitting the switch or whatever, like it just went off anyways.
Yeah, the whole thing, like I said, I hated her story arc, but not because of her or an actor or as a character, but what they wrote in around it. Like they had to have that. Like he had blue eyes like my twin sister that died or something. It's like, no, he had a homemade bomb strapped to him and I was in a big metal box. I didn't think shooting him would be germane to saving anyone. That's what she should have said. Are you an asshole? Go throw a hand grenade in a 55-gallon drum and then jump in and tell me what the results are going to be. But no, she didn't do that. I really despise that whole story arc. I was like, oh, this is dumb. Yeah. Brody does not seem like someone who hesitates. Yeah. And anyone who pulls out a gun and doesn't have a moment of thought, oh, I don't want those people to be in law enforcement. We got enough of that shit going on. Where you just, I see the solution here. Pow, pow, pow. No. So it was dumb, but
yeah.
You know. So yeah, that was NCIS New Orleans. Not the strong hand this
week. No, yeah, because like the last episode was probably like their most impactful episode. So that was their follow-up.
This is they just scraped everything off the writing room floor. They got cut out, threw it in a blender. This is this week's episode. This is more like typical network TV shit. This is when we get into the typical. Like, yeah, that's why I don't watch a lot of this. Right here. And look, everything doesn't have to be perfect, but it also doesn't have to be obvious.
Yeah. So we have our second show, The Mentalist, Season 1, Episode 14, Crimson Casanova. Original air date, February 10th, 2009, CBS Tuesday. So last week I said they moved to Sunday. That apparently was, I don't know, a special episode. I don't know. I double checked it. That last episode was on Sunday. This one's on. They're back on the Tuesday schedule. So.
Okay.
And apparently, looking at some other stuff, apparently the show moves to Thursday at some point. But I don't know. So it must have been a special episode, special Sunday presentation of The Mentalist last time. Anyways, we had the wife of a wealthy businessman is found shot to death in a spa, and the CBI suspects that her womanizing lover is connected to the murder. We have showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Ken Woodruff, and directed by Leslie Linka Glatter.
Yes. This is high society murder at a spa or something.
Yeah, I thought it was a house at first, and I was like, it's a hotel, and then it's like a spa, and then, in a restaurant, it's everything.
Yeah, it just looked like a really fancy like house at first. And
yeah.
But I guess this is like, well, this is the sets we got this week. So,
well, I thought there was going to be something because, like, you saw one side, there was light on one window, and there's darkness in the other window, and that's where the gunshot is. And I was like, oh, is there going to be like a dark house and a lighthouse? And then, like, no, it's not. It's just
is it the Black Lodge and the White Lodge, Twin Peaks. No.
Claire Walcott is the body. We have some blood splatter analysis by Jane.
Yes.
Which at that time was fine. Now it's kind of more proven as nebulous science.
Yeah. It's basically fluid dynamics without any science behind it. It's like, well, fluid dynamics is a real thing because it's predictable.
Yeah.
Blood splatter, not so much. Or at least not the way it's been used in court.
Yeah.
I'm sure, because remember like all the bullet analysis they were doing where they said, oh, we can tell by the lead and how it was formed together. Like the FBI was peddling that shit for years and people went to prison because they said, oh, the lead and the bullets were the same, even though like they couldn't tell from the rifling or they didn't have any casings about what the primer looked like. So then they said, well, the lead's the same and we can prove it through some process, which later like all the courts threw out is like, that's just more shit. Blood spatter and bullet analysis are like the 90s and early 2000s version of the satanic panic. They had people come into court and like, I'm a demonologist and I can tell you why all these murders happened or what. And then it turns out, yeah, the guy got like a degree from, the University of something. And it's like you basically answer questions and give them $5,000 and they give you a degree. Yeah, same kind of shit. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so Jane is able to follow a blood trail to the guy that slept with the lady before getting shot, and then after getting shot, he ends up sleeping with a doctor who fixes him up, which is weird. It's like,
I'm coming to you with a gunshot that I received, and in some nefarious thing, like, you want to have sex? It's like, yes.
And it's like, oh, I guess I should have called the cops about that lady getting killed. Oh well.
But I didn't do it. Yeah.
Also, I clocked that they have the manager knocks on the door and asks, and the way that it was put in the show, it was kind of like shoved in there. It's like, okay, this guy's going to be a plot point later on. Yeah. Well, also, I picked up the lady that Katie. There's like a shot when they have like everybody there, and you see Katie up front with her name clearly says Katie. And it's like she's going to be one too, and yeah, she's part of it. Yeah, this is the guy's like a pickup artist. He didn't kill the lady. They kind of suspect him because he's a suspect because he's the last person to be with her, but he didn't kill her, but he is oddly suspicious. So
he's like a weird gigolo type guy. Yeah.
Well, it's a pickup artist at the time. This is what it's all.
Okay.
It's like, you ever heard of negging and stuff like that?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like where you go up to a beautiful woman and like you say something negative about her, and then you basically walk away, and then she'll be like, basically try to impress you because you're not impressed with her when she's obviously beautiful. It's like the weird pickup artist stuff. So.
Oh, you're trying to appeal to her insecurities to bear her down. Oh, that's gross. Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole books, and that's what this whole thing's based on. It was huge at the time. So.
Oh, okay. Another social thing I missed.
Oh yeah, there's this whole.
What happens when you're married for 25 years?
Yeah.
You don't worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah. What would you know about any of dating stuff or anything like that? But yeah, at the time, this stuff. Yeah, because there's several like reality shows based on this. There's a guy. I think the book's just called like The Pickup Artist, but there's several books that are just the exact same thing, but it's just done up differently.
Huh.
Yeah, it's Mr. Frick is the pickup artist in this show. So,
and I use the current term gigolo because everyone uses that term.
Well, that more implies he's getting paid for it. Although he does say he's able to extract money from the women. So
yeah, it's all these rich people. So yeah. It's a rich people place. Any time you go to a place where you don't know if it's a house, a spa, or a restaurant, you're at a place where rich people.
And then they have like Keith Walcott, who is the husband of the victim. They have him
such a cookie cutter caricature of a rich asshole.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I want this guy to be killed.
Yeah, he's like too obvious, so it's like, well, obviously it's not him because it's too obvious. Yeah. I love when they have Cho interview him. I wrote down the dialogue.
That's the best.
Walcott goes, "Mr. Cho, I can make one phone call and your career is toast." And Cho goes, "That's impressive. The best I can get with one phone call is a pizza."
Yeah, I don't care what you say. That's all. He never misses a beat either. His expression doesn't change. It's like, let's back to the questions.
Cho is great in every episode. They give him like one scene and he always knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, guy's a good actor. I like him.
Then we have
naive but in control at the same time.
Yeah. And just his deadpan humor is just like second to none. So
yeah.
Where it's like the humor of Jane is always too silly. And,
it's kind of nuanced and also on the nose at the same time.
Well, it's also just always at odds with what they're doing. Like, we're doing a murder investigation. Time to have slapstick comedy.
I'm going to go have a sundae and eat way. It's like, what? Okay, Sherlock, you go do your heroin or whatever. We need to piece this together. We'll come get you.
You have Natalie as the second suspect because she had like some theft charges against her based from Claire Wolcott, the victim.
Yeah, she was like an assistant to the rich lady.
Yeah,
rich lady's assistant is what I wrote her down as.
And then like she ends up like Jane like does the weird hand thing again, and like walks around the apartment looking for when her blood will rise, and he finds like a camera and it finds the Mr. Frick, like I think it was also sleeping with her, and there's like some jealousy, but it ends up she's not the killer either. But
no.
Also, they go back to the scene, and this is where Jane figures out that like the doors can can't be opened from the outside, so like somebody'd have to come in from like the front door to kill, because that's where the guy fled out. So, but he couldn't come back in, so that kind of exonerates Mr. Frick for the moment.
Yeah.
This would have
the most obvious guy with a gunshot wound, who then proceeds to like, hey, can I have like, can you repair a gunshot wound, which you're supposed to call the police for every time? You could lose your medical license before and sex too.
I don't know, it just shows how good he is.
I'm going to talk about the negative aspects of like you being a doctor. Go sleep together.
Also, like, this guy isn't necessarily like generally handsome. He's just kind of like a well-dressed dork, but
yeah,
which that plays into like the rest of the episode.
They don't have some throwaway line like he must be hung like a mule.
No.
Yeah, no, they don't do that. Okay.
But this is where like Jane and Rigsby like go to the restaurant, and this is the second time we see Katie. She's serving people. There's also like something where there's $2,000 in the mix because Claire Walcott was going to give Mr. Frick that to like start a club or something.
Yeah.
But then
it's easily enough seed money to start a club in California.
But then Mr. Walcott like cancels the check, and after that's where she gets killed. So that's why they like suspicion all around. Jane pisses off Mr. Walcott by like going to his party and like slapping him in the face. It's like, your wife's dead, now you're having a party, you're an awful human being.
Well, at first he won't talk to the one cop. He's like, we'll continue this discussion tomorrow, and he raises his voice haughty. Yeah. And then Jane's standing in the background. He's like, really, you don't want to talk about your wife's lover? Like in front of all his friends.
Yeah.
Party, which I think is cool. I could actually imagine myself doing stuff like that if people talk to me that way. Let's talk about your inability to please a woman. Like, what? With either money or sex. God, you have it all, and you can't handle any of it. Don't invest with this guy. He's an idiot. That's not what happened. But.
No, I mean that's where you like. It's like, well, this also it's like it seems most obvious that the husband was the murderer, but
yeah.
But then we have Jane has an idea, but they don't really say what it is. But they have Cho being a pickup artist, which is kind of a fun scene.
Yeah.
Or a fun series of scenes where it's like him being all suave and then saying things that's in his ear, not saying things that are in his ear. And then he ends up like kind of like taking Katie back to his room, and then he's like, I'm a police officer, this is a sting. And then she starts crying immediately. It's all comic. It's all comedically done.
Yeah, it was weird she started crying. It's like, what, is it illegal for two people to have sex in a hotel? What does it matter if he's a cop? But yeah, I know that the show, it was to imply that she's guilty of other stuff.
Yeah.
In that scene, I was like, why is she freaked out for? It's like, you have sex with whoever you want to. As long as they're not under 18.
But then it ends up being a sting for the hotel manager, who I guess was in love with Katie, and then Katie's in love with Mr. Frick, and Mr. Frick is a pickup artist, so he's sleeping with hundreds of ladies or whatever. Yeah, because they have that one scene where they're interviewing all the people he slept with from his phone, and it's just like literally hundreds of people. And he's like, this is just A through M for today.
I got A. You ever heard of AIDS? Herpes or
So yeah, it's a hotel manager, and then you have like one last scene where like Jane's at the bar, and then like these ladies.
This is like the most poignant, cruel scene in the show.
Where like the ladies like invite him over, and he like denies them. He says he's married, and so he shows off his ring. And now I'm wondering, has he had that wedding ring on the whole time? I just haven't noticed. And so something to look back for, I guess.
Well, James never tried to seduce. For all his powers, like seduction is not something. Well, not for sex. He's done that.
No, he usually does it on a dare, but it's also to get more evidence.
Yeah, it's never like to serve some ending. But yeah, that was kind of sad because like in his mind, like as far as this show goes and this case goes, like, yeah, he is still married. I mean, it's like, and so that's sad. It's the sad Jane moments when you realize it's like, oh, this guy's really not so fun. I mean, he is fun, but it's like inside he's like a very torn up person.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was a fun episode, but
Yeah, this is
It's
still
fine.
we're still kind of lighthearted.
Yeah, but a Cho heavy episode, so great Cho moments.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Cho's my favorite guy.
Yeah,
As far as like, because Jane's fascinating, but Cho's like the most believable as a
yeah,
policeman. It's like, yeah, this is what cops are like. They're not crazy, quirky people that jump around and
yeah.
manipulate people, and
Well, also like him, the way he's kind of like stoic and unemotional is sort of like it's also routine and it's something he puts on.
yeah,
But also, but so like when he's not on the job, he's probably just a normal person.
yeah. Well, in real life, he's kind of naive.
Yeah.
Like him and Van Pelt, sort of like they pass the naive trophy back and forth. Every episode's like, who's going to be the most naive this episode, Van Pelt or Cho?
And Rigsby is just too clueless all the time to be too naive.
Risky's there to hit people. He's just like, yeah, get your gun out, hit him. This is what we, he's the guy that he's like the enforcer.
Well, here in this episode, he's kind of like played the fool because he's like trying to listen to the pickup artist and employ his tactics onto Van Pelt, who is having none of it.
Yeah. It only works on women that choose not to know you're doing that and are just along for the fantasy. Because I don't imagine if they have all these books and stuff about this kind of dating and stuff. It's like, well, anyone can read those books.
Yeah.
And women know a lot more about emotional manipulation and things than men do, because men usually don't think like that unless they're trying to. So it's got to be pretty easy to pick out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's what this guy's doing. I always try to amaze women. It's like, hey, you ever seen a flamethrower? I'm out back. Watch this. You want to gut deer with me later? That's how you know. That's how you find a keeper. Anyone who's like, oh, let me shoot it. It's like they're just right in the zone. That's a keeper.
Yeah, if you want to be a pickup artist, all you gotta do is like have a good job and be able to play an instrument. Then you're golden.
Yeah.
You can't just have a good job. Nobody cares about that. Well, people do, but
I've never really managed to achieve either of those things. All musical notes sound similar to me, and I mean, I do technically have a good job when it's stable, but
I saw this like YouTube video, and it doesn't mean anything, but it was very funny. It was a guy basically at a bar trying to pick up women by showing off his bank account that had like $300,000 in it, and no woman gave a shit. He's like, oh, you should care. Good night.
I remember some lady. What was it? I'll have a little side story. Some lady, me and Stacy were both there. Something was wrong with her car, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't know." And it was like, "Well, let me take a look at it." It wouldn't start for some reason, but it was like the security thing was beeping and it wouldn't start. So I figured, okay, we just probably need to reset this or whatever. Let me help you with that. And she's like, she was like, how do you know how to fix this and stuff? And I can't say I'm a mechanic or something because I'm not. It's like, I work for the company that makes them. I've dealt with this, which it's not actually true, but I'm pretty sure I'm good at fixing things like that sometimes. And she was telling me everything that was wrong with the car since she got it. And I'm like, yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. So I was unhooking her battery and hooking it up or something. And then she went out of her way to tell us, oh, by the way, I'm a millionaire. It's like, are you crazy, lady? I didn't say that, but I just gave her a weird look. It's like, here, try it with your key. Good luck. And I left. I walked away. Like, I don't care if it starts or not. I think it did. I'm a millionaire, by the way. It's like, what? You know how gross I mean, it's like, ugh, it's so off-putting. And I'm a man. This was an older woman, like an elderly woman almost, too. So it was like, and my wife's right there. It's like, why are you telling me this? Like, I look like I care. By the way, how much money you got? Am I going to follow you home and murder you? Is that what you want? I mean, why are you telling people this? Literally met you 5 minutes ago, but yeah, that's weird.
So we have our third show.
I do like the one. There was another one we'll talk about the YouTube videos thing real quick, where the guy has like a Ferrari convertible. And it's like all these girls want to ride around with him in it. He's like, oh, okay, I got to take this back to my friend now. And there's a guy waiting because it's that guy's car, and he gets in a Toyota Corolla. It's like, come on, you want to go with me? And they just walk away. It's like, well, yeah, of course. Speaking of convertible Ferraris, we watched an episode of Miami Vice this week.
Season 1, episode 14, Golden Triangle Part 2.
Part 2.
Original air date January 18th, 1985, NBC Friday. Lieutenant Castillo must bring down his old enemy who has passed his organization to his grandsons. They have kidnapped Castillo's long-lost life to ensure their escape from prosecution. Showrunner Michael Mann, written by Maurice Hurley and Michael Mann. I think this might be the first Michael Mann episode. I maybe co-wrote the original or the pilot. I'm not sure. And directed by David Anspaugh, who is like, I don't know if you know him. He's like Mr. Indiana.
Okay.
He's from Indiana. His two biggest movies are Hoosiers and Rudy.
Okay. All right. A very Indiana-centric director. Those are two really good movies.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, we have Castillo go swimming. I don't know what song they're using. Did you clock that?
I didn't recognize that song.
Okay.
Because I know this song wasn't as quite as music heavy as some of them. I mean, they had some music for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like some of them have like 7 songs or whatever. This one had like
I think there was a lot of Jan Hammer just score on a lot of this stuff.
Well, Jan Hammer wrote the overall theme for. It's called Golden Triangle. It's a thing that plays throughout both episodes.
Oh, okay.
It's like the theme. There's this called Golden Triangle Suite or something. As far as the other music, I don't know. I could look it up, but it's
all right.
Nothing that really.
But yeah, in the beginning, I wasn't sure. I was like, is this a dream sequence, a flashback? And it's kind of like all of that. He's like out in the ocean and his wife's there, and they cut to Castillo at some place because Castillo thought his wife was dead.
Yeah,
because he talks about like they were ambushing some drug dealer in Thailand, and then like the CIA like sold them out, and there was an ambush against their ambush. And when they thought Castillo was dead, but they couldn't find his body, so just in case they went and hand grenaded his house, and so he assumed his wife was dead. Yeah, and Tubbs and Crockett want to work with Castillo's case, even though Castillo doesn't want him to work it because it would like break protocols or draw their attention away from like other stuff. It's like,
yeah, he has some line is like, yeah, the Miami Vice team is not my private investigation service. Or something. Yeah. It's a very Castillo heavy episode where they try to give him some character development.
Yeah. So you have Dale Minton, who's they said he's Lowley's rabbi for the company, which that's CIA.
Yeah.
It's played by John Santucci, who's a regular of Michael Mann, like he's in Thief and his pretty much all his other stuff.
Yeah, I thought I recognized him.
Yeah, Castillo was with the DEA, and they were working with the CIA inside Thailand, but the DEA and CIA had alternate goals, so the CIA, sells him out.
Yeah.
So there's some beef there.
This is where we get a little more backstory in Castillo. But Castillo's backstory gets more bizarre than that as the series goes on.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's like, was this guy directing the CIA at some point, and then he just became a lieutenant in the Vice Division? And a lot of it's about like corruption and not selling out. But it's like, did you see Castillo's house? Like, this is one of the only episodes where he appears in something other than a suit and tie, too. It's like one of like 3, I think.
Well, also, Minton's supposed to be like retired, but he's obviously like working as like a consultant for Lao Lee and still working for the CIA in some way.
Yes, General Lao Lee, who is this like master chess player, who's been enemy of Castillo since the DEA days in Thailand, where he wiped out his team, but he also is like very obvious and says things that are contradictory, like, I've never committed a crime in Miami, and I expect to be treated honestly. It's like, you hired an assassin in the last episode to go kill people, and they knew you did it. You're also bringing people into the country illegally, which they talk about because they know you did it. But there's things I also hate about this show too sometimes, but okay.
Well, also, like they said, like, they're saying that they brought her, like, his wife in, or Castillo's wife in illegally, but then in this episode, it's like, oh, her husband works for like a
Mining operations, or
no, it's like a mill but not like a mill, it's like for clothing. It's like a,
oh, okay.
I can't remember what that's called. Works for some clothing company, and they bring his family in on a green card to work there, but really that's all Lao Li's outfit. And so they think they're there like on merit. They don't know they're there as basically as impromptu hostages.
Yeah. So things kind of move around.
Yeah. They kind of they put themselves in a corner in the previous episode, and they move them back around so it fits what they want to eventually get to. So, but it's a two-parter written by like 4 different people, so that's what you get. So sometimes, because sometimes it's like you can feel the very Michael Mann stuff here, where like you have guys committed to their profession, just quietly talking in the back of a car seat, just explaining how the world is.
Yeah, it's very Michael Mann.
But yeah, it's like the Lao Li gathers his family together. He's like, all right, nobody break the law, because like we'll just because like we'll have this, the law will be all over us the whole time, and so we'll just like stay low the whole time, and then eventually they'll get bored with us, and then we can break the law again. But his sons, who like grandsons are like have a Lamborghini that they hooked up with a gaudy horn, and like they're going out and doing drug deals on the side, so they obviously don't heed that warning.
Yeah, it's just like, and again, we have this master chess player in General Lao Li, who like his kids get picked up importing a metric ton of heroin, like some obviously insane amount of heroin, who seems like a small distributor who's basically running a restaurant as a front for selling heroin, and also the purest form of heroin you can get. And so Lao Li's grandsons get set up in this sting and get arrested, and then Edward James Olmos is like, let them go. And so like the master chess player Lao Li is like, quickly kidnap them and I will have them strangled in front of me. And then the whole team rushes in and stops it, and everyone gets charged and shot and everything else. And it's like, wow, these guys this guy doesn't seem to be like such a strategist after all. But
also, like I read something like Castillo is supposed to be a shining knight of justice, who he applies it naively so as not to spoil the law.
Right.
But we've seen him work in the gray area before. Like, remember when the Tubbs and Crockett couldn't get the money for the boat race, and he's like, well, Trudy and crap, I keep forgetting the other lady's name.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They're running a thing. You can get their money like in the meantime and use it.
Gina.
So, yeah, Gina. Yeah. So yeah, he knows how to play the gray area. Oh yeah, we have Noogie show up and just does a racist impression multiple times.
Yeah, it's the 80s.
Yeah, I'm not here to forgive it. I will say that like at this time, it felt like, if you remember like Eddie Murphy Raw, comes out around this time. That's one of the most like considered one of the best comedic performances of all time and revolutionary. And that's also incredibly problematic and doesn't work nowadays, but that doesn't necessarily take away from its importance. But
yeah, it's just like the Sam Kinison, Louder Than Hell. Like
yeah.
One of the best albums you'll ever listen to, but you can't find it anywhere because he says some terrible things in there, which, I don't know why you shouldn't be able to listen to it, because if you go in knowing he's going to say terrible things, but yeah, that's fine.
But it's also just weird for Miami Vice, because this is kind of the first kind of racist thing, because like we said before, it's actually like a pretty diverse cast and all that, and this is the first instance of that. Like, oh, this is a problem. Not really, but it's weird that they the first time we involve Asians in the story, we get Noogie doing a racist.
Don't forget the horn that the the grandsons hooked up to their Lamborghini it was that Asian, that piano thing.
Oh.
Because when they honked the horn, it was like dun 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 dun, and they thought it was funny. So,
Jesus. I also, but whatever. We just pointed out. We're not here to like, oh, now we can't watch the show.
No, I'm not one of those people.
Oh yeah, this is like this has to be the first instance of a RICO charge, right?
Yeah, they talk about the Omnibus Crime Bill of 1984 in this.
Yeah.
When when Tubbs and Crockett are shaking down
Minton.
Minton, saying because Minton has this like gaudy house with like a room with a mirror on the ceiling, and he's always in bed with a bunch of women, and it's like, all this is going away, but don't worry, you'll still get your government pension because you're retired with the CIA, right?
Yeah, Tubbs mocks food stamps and Medicare. So
yeah, with your pension and food stamps and Medicare, I mean, you'll be fine.
Which is weird, I guess. It's like, but it's also just meant that, like, for the past 40 years, it's like, those government services that are supposed to help people. Well, obviously nobody believes that they actually help anybody. For the entire time they've existed.
That's the thing with the American system. It's like, even at that time, it's like, well, you won't starve to death on the streets unless you want to, but you're not going to live much above that unless you get out there and sell drugs, so we can use unjust asset forfeiture stuff to steal that money from you and drive around in your Ferrari. Because that's America.
I was having over it, like, so this comes over, like, Tubbs either has his snub nose 38 or he has a sawn off shotgun. Like, is that legal at the time, or is it okay because he's a cop?
I think it's okay because he's a cop.
Okay.
Because he either has a really small gun or a really big one. There's nothing in the middle. It's like, how about an automatic 9mm that holds lots of bullets? No, I'll just take this double-barreled shotgun and a little trusty 5-shot 38 with guys are running around with like machine guns. Like, I'll be fine. And he always is because he's the main character. Yeah. So that's how it works.
But yeah, so they end up catching Lao Lee at the end, and basically everybody goes to jail, and it's like, oh, we solved that problem. Well, also, like, Castillo, like, he reconciles with his wife, but like she's already remarried and has a son, which I put question mark. Is that his son or not?
Yeah, I was wondering about that at first, but
I'm not sure. But they basically tell them what's going on, and now they go back to Thailand because the whatever job they work for was owned by Lao Lee, so basically now they don't have to have a job or a work visa, so they can't stay in Miami. I think that's right? Basically, they are leaving at the end of the show.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not. People with that kind of money, you never know, especially back then.
Textile. I think that's the word I was working for.
Yeah, textiles. Yeah. But he was totally there under like false pretenses.
Yeah.
And he seemed like accepting of that. It's like, what about my life here? Because if I go back there, isn't this guy's like friends going to kill me? Well, we don't worry about these things. Details. Get on that plane.
We have Lao Lee in jail, so
Yeah.
But that's your bargaining chip. Somebody else has your boss in jail.
Yeah, I think this is the last time any of these people appear on Miami Vice and the entire canon of it. So, but we didn't start like the guys come back and it's that gets in like season 3, season 4.
Yeah,
where you have the real like the episodes where they are standalone episodes, but the overarching evil is still, who's the guy? Thanos in Marvel. Yeah. The all evil is always out there, but it's not on every episode, but it's all connected.
So if you've liked what you heard, and how couldn't you? You can find this podcast at Verhoeven. I mean, you listen to it somehow, but you can find it at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect. The way I like to remember to spell Verhoeven Effect is Verho, Vrho, and then even at the end. You also get there through verhoeveneffect.com. We are listener supported, so you can, for a monthly stipend, you can support us at 99 cents, or $4.99, or $9.99 a month. We also have another podcast, American Greed Factory podcast. You can download that also from Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts. It says Spotify. I took it off Spotify. Weirdly.
Wherever finer podcasts are
sold. You can also find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory, where you can see this show live and unedited if you wish. We're also on Twitch at Twitch/Greed Factory, where I play in the mornings. I do have podcasts, puzzles and podcasts. I play puzzle games and listen to podcasts. It's kind of low effort content everybody can get behind. Also, lately I've been playing a game I'm good at, or at least I think I'm good at, called Trials, which is a weird motorcycle game that's kind of puzzly. I play that because I think I'm good at it. Anyways, so for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, this has been Conlon.
And this is Nathan.
Goodbye, America.